and welcome to dotConnect, hosted by dotCMS, our annual virtual conference exploring the future of secure content, enterprise scale growth, and what's new, what's next, and what's possible with dotCMS today. My name is Ina Bosenko. I'm VP of Marketing here at dotCMS, and today's sessions are designed to help you unlock smarter, faster, and more secure content operations. You'll see how we're evolving our security practices, enabling AI-powered workflows, and making your content more discoverable and compliant than ever before. We've got 4 dynamic sessions ready for you, so let's dive in.
Thank you for joining dotConnect. We are thrilled that you're with us here today. I'm Ryan Bikini. I'm our head of go-to-market strategy and channels. I'm going to be leading our first session, which is build secure content with confidence. And the reason we chose this topic is because it's directly correlated with trust. And for most of our customers who operate in compliance-led industries, trust is their number one currency. Every interaction, whether it's big or small, provides an opportunity to build trust or erode trust. There are big events that we all know of, financial services organizations who have had a data breach, or healthcare providers who's is working through malpractice, or a telecom who has PCI that's been exposed. These are catastrophic events, but there are small events. There's day-to-day interaction that is often happening on digital channels. And when it comes to building trust in those digital interactions, there's 2 primary pillars. The first is governance, and the second is security. Governance gets talked about a lot in the context of creating digital experiences. Security is often overlooked. Security is often something where you evaluate a vendor and say, hey, they have the right certifications and they have a track record. But most business and technical teams don't know the nuances of what's under the hood, that what you're working with, and how to evaluate security solutions and programs. Today, I'm joined by Mehdi, a security expert and one of the directors here at dotCMS. He's been instrumental in building our security and governance discipline. And Mehdi, can you give our attendees a quick overview of your background and a little bit about your role here at dotCMS?
Definitely. Thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here, first of all. And secondly, my name is Mehdi Karimi. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity at dotCMS, and I lead the overarching program for security, privacy, and trust at our greatest CMS platform. And I also manage the compliance. I manage the responsible disclosure policy program. I have 15 years of experience with a background of PhD in cybersecurity, so quite very well know what's happening in the market, and would be happy to continue working with dotCMS to grow in having a secure and trust platform.
Yeah, Mehdi, we're so thrilled to have you on to talk about this topic today. Maybe we'll kind of get right into it. How do you define security in the context of enterprise content management? And if you can provide just some foundational points, knowing that we have some very technical folks on the line, we have partners who are listening in, we have existing customers, marketers. So maybe just a broad view of how you define security in the context of content management.
Yeah, definitely. For enterprise content management, and for us, security is a journey, not destination. We always look at how we can improve, and with the market that's improving every day, with all the AI evolution that's happening, we are always improving day-to-day basis, and our controls are also improving with that. We adapt with the state of the art market demand. We have dotAI, we have universal CMS, we have visual headless CMS, dotCLI, etc. So we want to make sure that the enterprise customers can build and deploy, manage, and optimize securely with confidence. What I mean by that in terms of confidentiality, so there are 3 angles to it. CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So with confidentiality, we ensure that only authorized users can view and access sensitive documents. This is a content management system, so we want to make sure that the platform is confidential to people who only can have access to it. With integrity, we protect content from unauthorized modifications, corruption, and tampering. We have controls for that. Our secure software development lifecycle, look for those, and we capture those before we push the code. With availability, we keep the system and content accessible to right users. Even if the system is under attack or if there is a incident happening, we make sure that we are practicing fail-safe defaults. We are having the principle of complete mediation in place. We have least privilege rules in place. And so that is the CIA, and the other two are IAM, which is identity and access management, which we offer and enforce role-based access control. You have with dotCMS, you can have roles like admin, reviewer, contributor. You can have editor, backend user, front end, or even you can have your own roles introduced to the platform, so you can manage who can access what and what features within the platform. We also support SAML, SSO, MFA. We strictly follow least privilege access control, and we have plugins for this. So you can conveniently add your IDPs to our platform. We also have audit and logging. That's a very strong piece for every processor, for every platform. So with audit and login, you can see who is logged in, who couldn't log in, who has attempted to log in, but they could not. You can review all the timestamps. You can, look at and track all the user activities in your backend system. So overall, that will give a very strong standing and a status for us in the CMS market in face of enterprise customers.
Yeah, Mehdi, I appreciate that. A few things I want to call out that I'm particularly keen on is the idea of access management and availability. I mean, access management is something that traditionally how content was produced and deployed was confined to a core set of users. But we know that more of the buyer journey, especially with AI, is taking place online. And what we've seen is more and more content contributors outside of that core set who built content in the past. So for example, in a financial services organization, they might have subject matter experts on commercial lending or retail banking who want to contribute outside of the core digital marketing team because there's less traffic within the banks. And so it's interesting how the security things that you talked about, access management, availability, those types of things have a direct impact on how companies can operate effectively, especially if they're compliance led. And then the last thing is audit and logging, as you have more users who are entering the system to contribute to make sure that you have visibility in the market through digital content, understanding who is taking advantage of the system, and if they're accessing it properly, there can be tremendous risk in that. So great points to get us started, Mehdi, and I can see the direct tie into how some of our business operators will be curious about that. I think, there's a cohort of folks who are at dotConnect who know about us at a moderate or a deep level. There's some who are learning more about dotCMS, and they're sort of evaluating. I guess, what are some of the things that you feel get looked over in terms of when you evaluate the security protocols within a CMS platform that you might want to call out? What are the nuances that most people don't necessarily recognize?
That's a great question, Ryan. So I would say there are three things that I have seen it happens frequently when we are engaged with our customers, and there are some subtleties that I have to kind of elaborate. One of them
Please.
is CMS is, so we are a data processor. We are not a data controller. So we just give that CMS gives that flexibility to our users, to our customers, to be able to upload any content, at enterprise grade, and they are in full control of their own content. If it's a PII, PHI, if it's any kind of a file or format that they want to, the beauty of the CMS is that you can upload any content and manage it, right? And so in that sense, within that premises, we are a data processor. We're not a data controller. And this happens a lot, that they come back to us and ask questions that, hey, we have some PII in our system. Can you, how does the data leaks work, or how does it manage with a certain other contents or contentlets that they can also manage by themselves. And then we go back and say, hey, we are a data processor, and we make sure that there is no data leak. All of your data in transit and at rest are protected, they are encrypted, we have backups for it, we follow we have a contingency planning, we have a BCP plan, we rehearse it, and all that. But at the same time, I want to emphasize that CMS provides the responsibility to prevent things like OWASP top 10, like CW top 25. We look at it, right? We shield against those. Our controls are protecting you from the latest and greatest hacks and attacks. We have a very strong responsible disclosure program. We have scanners. So we don't push code unless we have the scanner reviewed it, and we make sure that there is no, in a sense, critical, high, or medium severity involved. So that's one thing. CMS is a dotCMS is data processor, not controller, data controller. The second one that pops a lot is there is a shared responsibility, and that responsibility is with our sub-processors. Enterprise cloud systems like AWS, GCP, and Azure, we make sure that we have a full coverage in that spectrum. So dotCMS is responsible for securing the infrastructure, the platform, the patching, monitoring, and vetted sub-processors, that the sub-processors have their own physical controls in place. They have their own data center reliability. They have their own backup plans provided. They have their own contingency planning. So if you look at our SOC 2 reports, for example, there's a section in system description, section 7, for complementary subservice organization controls. And with those, we also provide the SOC 2 report of AWS, of GCP, that we combine it with our SOC 2, and that makes it the shared responsibility with sub-processors.
So Mehdi, I think this is a really, really important point, because the sub-processors, because at the end of the day, our clients and partners want to make sure that how dotCMS is running is secure. And this is the nuance that is essentially under the hood that without the proper diligence might be overlooked. So the complementary security practices across our platform and our sub-processors like GCP or AWS is something that is the layer of depth that I think is needed to have confidence that essentially if anything goes wrong, that it's covered, because we have connectivity across the stack in terms of our security. So I think it's a great point to highlight. Anything else you wanted to mention on that front?
The last thing I want to emphasize is the presence of plugins and supply chain security, right? So when customers reach out to us to check our trust, to check our security and privacy, and that would obviously bring trust. But one section that we would have to emphasize is to also look at our software bill of materials. With every release, we release a SBOM, and that would say in that package, in that dotCMS stack, what are the packages that are involved in it, and we make sure there is no vulnerability in those packages at the same time when we are releasing it. This is something that sometimes is being overlooked, because they sometimes just look at the dotCMS core, whereas you have to look at the entire package and what are the dependencies that we are having. And it's been very recently, many of these attacks leveraging AI for supply chain attack, right? So they've just put some backdoor or RCE in that supply chain that, for example, we use, and then they can enter the CMS system with that package. So it's very important to make sure that there is no vulnerability involved in those supply chains.
Yeah, so maybe taking it back a step for some of the business users that are listening in, the ecosystem that's created and the connectivity to other systems, a plugin, or those there needs to be essentially a shared security to make sure that there's not a backdoor through those systems as well. And I think your key point here is dotCMS in every sprint or every release that we're managing that, in addition
Yeah,
to essentially how there could be a security vulnerability in our own platform. Correct?
that's right. That's right.
Great. Yeah. Great. Thanks for that context, Mehdi. There's a lot in the nuances, so I will offer to the folks attending dotConnect if they do want breakout sessions or to engage on some of these nuances, that we can certainly work through your account manager or the proper channels. Mehdi, I do want to talk a little bit about where we are today with security and how it's evolved. So maybe you can give us just kind of a quick overview of what you've seen in the last 1, 5, 10 years as it pertains to security best practices. Obviously, the rise of AI has created a major shift in terms of
Yeah.
what folks need to think about, but just your vantage point on how it's evolved over the last year, 5 year, 10 years.
Yeah, if you want to come back historically let's just start from 10 years ago and then we come forward with time, because 10 years ago, what was important was, hey, you do have like TLS 1.2 in place, what are your cipher suites look like if you're practicing block ciphers? Do you have like, block ciphers CBC mode in place, which is, prone to padding oracle attacks, things like that, the poodle attack, and so on and so forth. Then it was the idea of, perimeter security mindset, where we have to, put firewalls and IDS, IPS in place. We had to have DMZs, uh, uh, where still is a primary security model. This is before even zero trust, and the plugins, if you remember with like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal ecosystem, when back in time was expanding. And back in time, the best practice was to keep plugins and themes updated. That's the hugest. We do that every 3 weeks, for example. There was no like supply chain scanning back then. And there was things like, role-based access control that was becoming prominent, fine-grained, or adaptive access, back in time was quite rare. So RBAC was a big thing. And then, it just came forward. Those things started to maturize, gain maturity. And then like 5 years ago, there was discussions around shift left strategy, DevSecOps, zero trust, and cloud maturity, how we can manage IAMs and infrastructure as code. And there were some discussions around like API security, as headless CMS is growing, protecting APIs, from abuse, rate limiting auth to JOT validation was a big thing back then. And then those again started to um, uh, gain momentum 5 years ago, and then they earned maturity. And now, for many obvious reasons, we see that the focus is now AI, right? There are supply chain attacks that happen through AI. There is some regulatory tightenings for SOC to ISO GovRAM that they look at supply chain and AI. And so I think with AI, it's a double-edged sword in that it can weaponize to attack us, and then at the same time we can use it as a tool for guardrails. I would say with starting a year ago or 2 years ago, now the best practice is to, while we are having AI augmentation in CMS market, we want to at the same time make sure that those are protected or guardrails for it. So companies and customers would start to look at, okay, what is your AI control? What is your AI protection? If you're offering dotAI, if you're practicing, AI in your operations, what kind of a certification you can provide? And yeah, it's becoming again, it's gaining momentum right now. So we are focusing on AI. At the same time, we are bringing forward what we've had since past, like zero trust, as I said, role-based access RBAC, DevSecOps and shift left strategy. So put it all together. Moving forward, AI is becoming a big thing for us.
Yeah, Manny, maybe you can talk through, you alluded to it there, but why investing in security for many years matters today if, as you're embarking on this journey to include AI. Like, what are the things that
Yep.
that are of value if you've had a security program in place for a long time as you try to incorporate AI? And what might be missing if you haven't been investing in it for a long time?
Very, very, that's a great question. Okay, so, there's a saying that, and I always say security is a journey, not destination. So you are bringing a track record of history of improvement over time, and you're building on top of it the things that are new. So the idea of a new AI is new because it was not the case before. People didn't know that um, you can breach emails with AI, with like maliciously create some context that can release, content from CMS, for example, to manipulate the AI for that reason. Let's say, I don't know, for example, if I can manipulate dotAI to release all the contents from a company, something like that, So that's a big thing, right? So that's a big thing in a sense that what we've put in place as controls for RBAC, for MFA, you name it, for data in transit, for data at rest, for cloud security, all of that have to be in place, but not so, but as well, we would have to add AI controls and AI security to it. So security is a journey. It's not a destination. We're not done. We never done, because every day there's a new thing that's happening. There's a supply chain attacks that are happening. There's AI breaches through AI that are happening. So we would have to be ready for it. And it's a content, right? It's just the most. So I always say that assets must be protected. Data are assets. Content is a data. So content must be protected, right? So with the advancements of landscape in AI, we would have to be ready to protect data against malicious activities that are happening with AI.
Yeah, the scope of what we're going to need to protect is going to be much greater than it's ever been, right? More content is going to get created, different types of experiences. There's been other sessions and webinars where we've talked about the promise of personalization coming to fruition, and with something like personalization or kind of new types of content moving online, the scope of that data, i.e., being content, is going to increase. So, Mehdi, you've touched on some of this stuff, but maybe for our listeners today, what else? I want to ask sort of a broad question and then narrow in on what we're thinking. What does security look like? What does the future of security look like when it comes to digital experience, digital content?
We would have to have continuous monitoring in place. So that's one thing. The second thing is we continue to renew and maintain our placement, our status in compliance, because that is something that's prominent in the face of enterprise market to see we are adaptive to the latest and greatest and the state of the art compliance certifications like SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001. AI, we are working on it. So I'm gonna go and say between now, with high confidence, and summer 2026, we're gonna achieve AI ISO 42001, which is AI compliance. And then since I'm just having so many interactions with a lot of security community, GovRamp is becoming more and more important. I don't know if you heard about it. I mean, you're in Canada, and there is a bill C8 that is in place now, and you would have, it's like GDPR. It's a law. You just have to follow Build C8, which is about cybersecurity, your incident response, um, your vendor management, your risk management, your business continuity, all of that. So you would have to have um, a very stringent and very vigilant program that can support what the government is asking for it. In Canada is Bill C8. The corresponding South version of that is called GovRamp. And GovRamp is based on NIST 853, and there are different impact levels for it. I would say in 3 years, all the state agencies would ask for GovRamp. And we are moving very fast to achieve that certification because it's a must. Everyone should have it. And we are no exception of that.
Yeah, Mehdi, it's the AI certifications you talked about that we're achieving, I think is really interesting because that is it's new ground, and then the legislation, which we'll try and stay away from politics on this in this session, but it's going to impact how digital experiences are created across the board. And we've seen versions of this when it comes to data, like you mentioned, GDPR, and there's other data certs that are required. But I think it's going to be quickly evolving, and I'm more excited to see where it goes, especially to help our customers gain trust with their customers. So, Mehdi, we're coming, believe it or not, we're coming towards the end of our time for this session. And I wanted you to hopefully share some key takeaways for orgs in general. And then if there's anything for specific folks who might be listening, business, technical, security professionals, what they should be thinking about, what they should be doing to make sure they're prepared for the future, or evaluating the right security approach to their business.
I look at security as bringing trust. When we are building a relationship, as a CMS vendor to our clients, to our enterprise customers, we want to make sure that your content is always secure. And actually, you can take a look at it in our Trust Center, which I'm going to demo it momentarily, where all of our controls are being looked at live and they are being updated every often. At the same time, you can look at our compliance. So we put our SOC 2 report. Upon request, we can provide the report to you, where you can look at all of our controls that has been reviewed by a third party and it been attested and signed by a CPA. And always, I would always ask that if you have any questions, just reach out to us. We would be open to discuss and have a discussion with you. Obviously, I said that we are going after AI compliance and GovRamp, and those are things that we are having in addition to what we have built over time, with ISO 27001, with SOC 2 Type 2, with TextRamp Level 2. Those are the things that we have already achieved. And I think going after AI compliance, bringing trust in that respect, going after GovRamp to bring trust for government agencies, for government contracts and at enterprise level, those are also achievable because we have a track record of it. And at the same time, we're building on top of that. So it's a journey, it's not a destination. So at the same time, if you, let's say, give us like 6 to 8 months or 6 to 12 months, we can achieve what you guys are looking after.
Yeah, Mehdi, I think that's great feedback for our listeners. There's a few things you said that resonated with me. I think just the idea that the security is nuanced, and even something like seeing our Trust Center will help folks get educated, because even if it isn't your direct domain expertise, it is going to impact your day to day. If you're a developer, if you're a business user, I think the rise in AI and what that means in terms of security is something that we all need to be aware of. And then finally, the nuances for each industry, that you talk through, GovRamp being one of them. And how security is going to play out there. So, for our listeners, hopefully that gives you some good insight in terms of how you can get more educated about security depending on your role. I think for now, Mehdi, that's going to wrap our session. I want to thank everyone for joining dotConnect. I hope you enjoy the rest of the time that you spend with us. A recording of this session will be sent out, and we'll see you on the next session. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mehdi.
Thank you. Bye. Hi, I would like to present you our Trust Center at dotCMS. So if you go to Google and search for security.cms, it takes you to our Trust Center, which is security.dotcms.com. So there's a little blurb about our company here, how you can connect with us if you have any security questions. Here's a link for our privacy policy. And at the same time, there is a live report of our controls. On the right side, you see these cards about infrastructure, security, organizational, product, internal, and data privacy, data and privacy. So you can check all of those controls that are pulling out data from our machines, backend vendors, from our sub-processors, GCP, AWS. Tick mark means that they're compliant. On the left side, you can see our compliance badges. We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We are ISO 27001:2022 compliant, and we are TextRamp Level 2 compliant. Beneath that, you can click on resources. For resources, if you like to have our SOC 2 report, you just fill in the quick form, and it just comes to us. If you ask for a full access, and then we can provide you with the read access, you can take a look at our SOC 2 report. At the same time, you can have a look at our ISO certification with the same method, and TextRamp as well. So you can look at our TextRamp and what's the scope of the work that has been conducted to be compliant with TextRamp Level 2. One thing I want to just mention here, if you guys go to updates, in updates you can look at our what are the news and what has been happening. We post things like the new certification or recertifications here. At the same time, if there is any bug or fixes that are security fixes, and we've done it, we also provide it here. For example, lately we released security incident 73 with CV number 2025-8311. That was a SQL injection fix, and it was concerning our content type API. We have released that, and we announced it here. If you want to get those updates, you can just click on the bell here, and once you just you can provide your company security domain, or if you're a CISO, you can provide your own email. So every time we have an update about our security changes, we just post it here, and you will receive that notification. Any questions, anytime, just send me an email at security@dotcms.com. Thank you very much.
Hello, and welcome back to another session of dotConnect. My name is Laura Cabarizo, and I'm the Solutions Engineer at dotCMS. Last time we were together, I had the pleasure of showing you how to implement dotCMS AI in your environment. As part of my series, Building Your Corner of the Web, I also gave you an in-depth look at the configurations in a document titled Discovering AI. Since then, I've been hard at work creating a new AI site search widget. I was so excited when I found out that we would be featuring this at dotConnect that I asked our sales engineer, Jorge, if I could present it to you instead. He graciously agreed, giving me the opportunity to show you how easy it is to implement AI site search on your own website. To make this process as simple as possible, I've created a new step-by-step guide. This document is geared towards users who have little to no technical experience. By following the instructions, you should be able to implement AI site search in your own environment with just a few simple copy and paste actions. This guide also includes a code appendix with all the necessary code, as well as links to Discovering.ai document in case you need a refresher on setting up your initial AI configurations and indexes. Let's take a look at that code appendix right now. If you're a more technical savvy user, or if you're trying to implement site search on a headless environment, you can look through the code in the code appendix to see what API calls I used. Scroll down. It's about halfway down. You can see that I have a fetch call to our AI and a few more AI endpoints for completions or search. This code, which is written in VTL, contains all the logic for rendering the search bar, making the API calls to the AI service, and displaying the results. You can pull out the underlying API calls from the VTL to integrate it into your own headless front end and style it however you wish. Let's go back up to the top. Before we dive into the step-by-step implementation, it's crucial to make sure that your indexes are ready to go. I'd like to do a quick review of the Manage Embeddings and Indexes tab over here in our documentation for implementing dotAI. This screen is going to be one of the most important tools in your dotAI toolkit. You can find it by going under DevTools, dotAI, and then you'll see your Manage Embeddings and Indexes over here. Again, I have step-by-step instructions on what all these fields mean and how to implement them inside of this Discovering.ai documentation. You can see here that we have several indexes already created. So we have blog content and a default. This VTL widget that I've created uses the default index, but I've given you instructions in case you would like to change which index your dotAI search uses. Again, it's vital to confirm that your indexes have content before you start building your search widget. It's the key to making sure your search returns what your users are looking for. Let's get started. First, we'll navigate to our site browser and find our application folder. Next, we're going to add a folder called the API VTL if it doesn't already exist. Because I've already installed this on our demo PM environment, you're going to see all of these things already in here. So you would just go in and you would create the API VTL folder based on the instructions that I've provided. And the instructions are not long. It's only about 15 steps for you to be able to implement AI site search on your own website. So we're going to go in here. We're going to take a look. We have this folder called AI search. If you follow the instructions to the T, you should not have any issues installing this on your own website. The only caveat to that is that this is meant for a single site implementation. So if you're using a multiple site implementation where you have more dropdowns up here in the sites, please contact us if you have any issues implementing this on your own. So we're going to go into AI search. You're going to see our VTL file here called dotAI site search widget. We're going to go in here. And what you would do is if you were creating this on your own, you'd go to our code appendix, which is highlighted here. You're going to copy all of this, all of it, straight down to the very end. You just copy that, paste it right into here, save it, and then publish it. Of course, I've already done this step, so I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm just going to leave it alone. But once we're done with that, the real fun starts. Next, we're going to navigate to our pages section. We're going to create a new page, and then from the right-hand side, we're going to find our new VTL file. So here's pages. I previously created this page called dotAI search, so we're just going to go back into here. And you can see I have the search widget already here on the screen, but what you would do is go back up to our instructions. You're going to scroll down a little bit and you're going to see where it'll give you instructions on how to actually create this widget for yourself. So again, it's pretty easy. You're just going to drag and drop. Since I've already created it, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find it right here. I'm just going to drag and drop it on the screen. And if you install the VTL correctly, it should all just work, which is really great. All right, I'm going to open this URL in a new page so that we can test it. Now, let's take a look at the widget in action on our Travelux website. As you can see, we have a search bar. It has two different search types under it, AI chat and keyword search. AI chat is the one that's going to pop up that little blurb about the content that you have in your indexes, and AI search is going to give you just the links to the different sorts of web content that you have in your indexes. So let's type in skis. So you can see your AI response here. It gives you a little bit of information on skiing. It links in a few of the different destinations that you have in those indexes. It gives you some examples of products that you may be offering on your website. And then it gives you a bunch of different links to information below that you can look through. And of course, all of this can be updated or changed based on your indexes. This pagination is also included in the widget. You don't have to worry about any of that. We're going to take a look at our first link here and see what kind of content we get back. It'll open your products or any of your links in a new tab so that your users can take a look through the information that you want presented to them. Hopefully, implementing AI site search on your own website is now no more difficult than copying and pasting a few lines of code and creating a new page. The documentation I presented will be made available to you after dotConnect. I encourage you to download it, try this implementation on your own sites, and play around with it. If you do run into any issues or have any questions, please feel free to reach out. As a solutions engineer, I would be delighted to help you. Thank you for joining me for this little dive into AI site search. I hope you enjoyed it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here at dotConnect25. My name is Freddy Montes, and I'm a director of product here at dotCMS. Today, I want to show you how to use MCP servers to go from Figma Designs to completely editable dotCMS pages in no time. So the first thing that you got to do is in your Figma, make sure that you have enabled the MCP server right here, right? Next, we got to do the same in Cursor or your favorite editor. It could be Cloud Code, etc. So you go to settings and then you go to MCP servers. I got all these MCP servers here. This one is not running, so I'm going to restart it. And I'm going to edit the dotCMS one so I can show you how these are set. So basically, there is this mcp.json file, and you can define your MCP servers here like a configuration object. In this case, I have the Figma one, and then I have the dotCMS one. The dotCMS basically only needs the dotCMS auth token and the dotCMS URL. And that's it. You can see your MCP servers defined here, which means that I am ready for the Cursor agent to use them. You can see some of the tools. You can see the tools that this server has available, and you can check what these tools do. But basically, we have a tool for list content types, create content types, search for content, save content, publish, unpublish, etc. Now, let's go real quick. So you can see I have this Next.js app running right here, which is this Next.js app. It's a typical dotCMS Next.js app, and it uses the dotCMS React and the dotCMS types, and it uses the dotCMS client to fetch the data. And if we go to dotCMS, you can see that I have this set up in the Universal Visual Editor, and it already have a few pieces of content. But as you can see, there is no components for those pieces of content, and we need it to look like this. So in order to use the Figma MCP server, you got to select. So it gives, this is the context, this is the component that I want to create first. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to open the agent, and I'm going to paste these prompts that I have. Basically, it says, add a new component into my page component. It generates a React component from the hero content type, and get the schema from the dotCMS MCP server. There is a call to action field in this content type, so I'm basically telling that in front, and there is already a call to action component you can use, and get the design from the Figma MCP. The first thing that the agent do is it outlines his to-do, then it calls the dotCMS context initialization to understand the structure and the schemas, and they go to the Figma MCP and get the code and get a screenshot. And with all that context, dotCMS and Figma context, start to create the hero component. Okay, it finishes. Let's see how it went. So As you can see here, it made a lot. It makes the title, it added the call to action, it added the description, but the image is failing. These are the type of error that I normally go and see myself. So I'm gonna go to hero and I'm gonna accept all. And what is the image right here? So it's doing image. Okay, I think the problem is that image is not image directly, it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, image identifier. So we need to update also, this is not a string, actually this is like this. And boom, there you go. That's the image. It has the call to action. It reused the component. As you can see here, it reused the call to action component that we already had. This any, I really don't like it, but we can fix it. There is a little error right here that we can set fix in the chat. Let's see how it goes. That's the thing, right? It's never gonna nail it into a one prompt, no matter how good it is. But you can always keep prompting and keep iterating over and just fix some of the stuff. So this is working. So this is the original, and this is how it looks like. It's okay. I don't like that it has all this margin on top and bottom. We don't need that. So I can go here to the section and find, this is the class. I'm gonna remove that. Now I will still have a margin right here. That should be probably the image. Let me see. Oh, I'm not sure where is that coming from. Oh, actually it was just the box. Okay, perfect. We got the first one. It takes literally very, very low time. As you can see, the HTML is okay, it's respectable. I will guess that I don't want an H1 here. I want to say an H2 for semantics purposes. But other than that, I mean, I can, always trust but verify. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to commit these ones and we're ready to go. Okay, now for the next one, we're going to select and going back here, I'm just going to open my page. That's where some of the change happen. And I'm going to have the prompt is basically set the same. The only thing that is different, it says that these content types, the features have a relationship field to feature, which is another content type, and are represented as card in the design. So create a proper component for that one. And instead of using image identifier, that use title image ID path, because that's something that also comes in every dotCMS content. So let's see how I do. So now we go here. Okay, we can see that it renders the title and everything. It renders the label and the description and the learn more with the proper links. But the images have some issues and this needs to be centered. So there's a couple of fixes that we need to take a look at. So let's go and see in the features. Okay, so it says that we got image identified and title image. Actually, this is not the proper structure. It comes like this. So it's directly title image ID path. So we need to fix that because now we're passing it directly here. And again, here is not like this. It goes like that. And this is not, just like that. So if this is okay, we see the images. So we're good. Now we just need to center this. So we should go to the features, and I'm guessing it's this right here. But just let me inspect it fairly quick to see what it did. So we got this one, this section. So I guess in this one, instead of item start, it should be item Unify Center. I think that this is the one. Oops, it's not that one. This one. Okay, let me just, here we got flex column. Justify center item center. That didn't do the trick. I need to polish my CSS. And I actually think is this one. There you go. So now it's centered and we're down to 2 and missing 1. So let's go to the third one. So again, we select this one. Let's go back here, open a new chat, and I'm gonna have this prompt right here. It's very similar, but I'm saying that we got facts and that the content type had a relationship with fact, FAQ, and get the schemas from the dotCMS MCP server, like the same idea. Well, but actually before that, let me commit these changes. And now let's go. This is an interesting one because this one had expand and collapse, and I didn't set anything, but sometimes the agent can sense that from the Figma design because the component have like 2 states and stuff like that. Let's see if it tried to pull it off. Okay, well, that was quick. Let's see what it did. Okay, it renders this. It doesn't have questions. Let's see what happened. So let's go to my page and let's find this one. Let me accept all. I'm pretty sure that is something regarding what is, oh, it's doing the expanding. At least it's trying to. So FAQ items is a narrator questions, or question empty. So I'm guessing that these questions is not coming correctly. Let's see. Let's just old school console log it, right? Okay, the array is empty. So I wonder if I didn't relate. They're related right there. They are not published though. So maybe actually my problem is that I have to publish all of them. So now they're published, and I'm gonna go back to the page. And there you go. Turns out it wasn't published. That's why it wasn't coming down in the page response. Now, as you can see here, it didn't perfectly did it, but it did expand, right? There is some margin issues right here that I can see. This should not be this width. Actually, let me measure the width. And as you can see, it's 600. I can even set like, hey, double check the width. Or I can fix it myself in the design. Not too much context, not too much anything. Okay, again, it's checking, I guess. Okay, it says that it hides this. It's talking about gaps and stuff like that. I don't like the change. I think it changed too much stuff and it was fairly okay. It's doing a lot of different things that we don't need. So instead of accepting these changes, and this is something that sometimes happens, right? Sometimes changes are easier if we fix it ourselves. So skipped. And what I'm going to say when it's finished is like, you know what? Undo everything. And I'm just going to go here myself. And in this section, instead of full, I'm going to say closer to 600. Let me see. 96. No, it's too much. Maybe I got to do like, yeah, 600 right there. And I need to add the margin. So it's auto. And there you go. I fixed it. I didn't need it. Therefore, me to fix it. And as you can see, we have the 3 components in no time, and I can edit this one. It's already editable. Banking made. Awesome. Boom. I can, change the image. Let's browse for another image. I don't have too many images, but let's use this one. There you go. And it's completely editable. And it was quick. And thanks to the MCP server of dotCMS and Figma, you can easily go from nothing to a fully functionable, editable dotCMS page in like no time. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you later.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this dotConnect session, Future-Proofing Your Content. My name is Jason Smith, and I'm with the dotCMS Customer Experience team. In this session, we'll discuss some major shifts occurring in search, what you can do to stay discoverable, and how dotCMS can help. So let's start with the why. There are 2 major shifts happening. First, traditional search engines like Google are increasingly serving AI-generated summaries at the top of results. And second, large language models like Perplexity and ChatGPT are gaining adoption. The result? People are getting answers without clicking through to your site. That means customers aren't finding you if you're not appearing in AI-generated answers. Let's take a look at the numbers. Our studies show that over 58% of web searches end without a click, with 21% of searches triggering another web search, and 37% ending with no action. That implies the person got the information they were looking for. And when people do click, about half of the time, it's just to confirm something they already saw or read in an AI snippet. So what do we do about it? How can we prepare for a zero-click world? 1. Optimize for crawlability. Adapt your content for semantic search, emphasizing high-intent long-tail terms. Focus on questions people ask in natural language. AI doesn't care about best laptop 2025. It cares about what's the best laptop for a college student who travels a lot. 2. Use diversified content formats. Make sure you use video and other interactive formats to boost visibility in AI results. Don't just stick to text. Data visualizations, charts, original research, these give AI context and they make your content stand out. 3. Build authority. This is where Google's EAT framework can help. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Include author bylines with real credentials. Make sure you cite reputable sources like government sites, universities, or industry research. 4. Structure your content for clarity. Make your content easy to parse. Break it into sections, use clear headings, bullet points, and tables. For example, lead with a short, clear answer up front, then expand with details. This helps AI find quotable nuggets, and it helps your readers too. 5. Broaden your reach. Publishing on your website is great, but cross-post on platforms like LinkedIn or industry publications, this can also help with authority. And last but not least, enforce technical SEO. To be AI-friendly, your site needs clean technical SEO. This includes using schema markup. This is just another way to provide structured content to the AI so it knows exactly what your content is about. These fields are also great places to consider using dotAI workflow actions to help automate the process, or consider adding AI fields to the content type. For example, on the blog content type, add an AI summary button for the SEO or short description field. This could write a short summary of the blog body field using SEO best practices. Let's take a look at the blog content type on our company website. If we scroll down to the SEO section, you'll see we have a meta description field. Let's take a look. Here we are setting the two fields we want to pass to dotAI in our prompt. We then write the prompt we want to pass, including the values of the variables. Now let's see what that looks like. Let me open one of the blogs and take a look. Click over to the SEO tab, and you'll see we have the meta description field. Let me delete what's there and have dotAI regenerate a new description. We also have another dotAI field called meta keywords. Let's use dotAI once again to generate that field. This is a simple example, but it could save a lot of time for content authors. You could also trigger these actions from a workflow step as well when the content is saved. If you're not sure how to set up a schema for your page, use AI. Give ChatGPT a link to your page and ask it to write the schema markup for it. Then simply reverse engineer it into your code. This is also a great way to make sure you have all of the required fields for your content type. Make sure your site has a LLMS text file. Think of it as a robots.txt file for AI. It tells large language models which parts of your site they can and should use. And last, always structure your HTML with proper heading tags. H2 and H3 tags aren't just for style. They're signals for both SEO and AI, and they give semantic structure to your content. Audit your content regularly. This means updating statistics, replacing stale examples, and fixing broken links. And don't just update, repurpose your content. Turn long blogs into videos or an infographic. Keep your content fresh and adapt as models evolve. Start with your best performing content, your product guides, your feature pages, and get those optimized first. Then rinse and repeat. This is a cycle, not a one-time project. To succeed in AI-driven search, your content strategy needs to evolve. It's no longer about quantity, but rather quality and depth. So rather than having 15 blogs on one topic packed with keywords, it's more important to have one blog that goes deep into the topic with structure, references, visuals, and depth. So to recap, focus on semantic search. That means answering questions in natural conversational language, not just keywords. Diversify your content by going beyond text with videos, infographics, and even interactive formats. Refresh. Keep your content fresh and accurate. Remember, outdated content can confuse AIs. Analyze. Don't just focus on clicks. Begin measuring impressions, citations, and referrals from AI tools like Perplexity and ChatGPT. So I hope this gives some ideas on how to get started optimizing your content for AI search and how using dotCMS and dotAI can help you work smarter, not harder.
Hello, my name is Laura Caparizo, and I'm the Solutions Engineer for dotCMS. You may have heard my talk a little bit earlier about dotAI search, and I'm excited to also get to tell you about workflows today. I have a few workflows that I have curated for this discussion, but I'm also going to talk about some of the other things that workflows can do. This is going to be more of a hands-on demonstration, so I'm just going to get into it. I've created this new content type called workflow examples so that I can show you exactly how a few of our different workflows run through the listing on the right-hand side of the screen. If you come over to the right-hand side of your menu, you can click on these three dots and see a listing of all of the workflows that are attached to your current process. I've created a few for this demonstration, an API connection workflow and a tagging for cats workflow. Neither of these use AI. The other workflows that I'm going to demonstrate are an AI image creation workflow, an AI create content workflow, and also I'm going to talk a little bit about how AI auto tagging works. So I'm going to create a new content type to demonstrate these different workflows. I'm just going to call this dotConnect for now. And I'm not going to fill in any of the other fields. I do want to point out for the AI image generation, you're going to need a binary field, which is a little bit different than the image field that you would normally drag and drop into your content types. We'll have more about that later. I have a text box for cat facts, I have a tags field, and I have this awesome block editor, which honestly is one of my favorite field types. So I'm just going to publish this with our title dotConnect, and then we're going to get into talking about the different workflows. All right. The first workflow I'm going to talk about is our API connection workflow. And this one is pretty nice because you can actually go out, connect to any external API, bring back information, and insert it directly into your content lit. After that, we're going to talk about tags for cats. This one actually will take a comma delimited list of terms that you have defined. It will add them into your content as tags. The AI image creation connects to dotAI, which we talked about earlier. And if you need any help setting up your dotAI in your instance, you can take a look at my series, Building Your Corner of the Web, where I have a document called Discovering AI. It is a deep dive into everything you'll need to know in order to set up dotAI in your environment. After that, we have AI auto tagging, which I'll do last, but we also have AI create content. Let's go over to our workflows listed under schema and take a look. So you can see I have the system workflow, which is always added by default, but I've taken it and created a copy called dotConnect workflow examples. In here, I've added all of our new workflow steps that you saw in that hamburger menu. So our API connection workflow, we're going to click on here, and we're going to see that it is shown on the listing but not on editing. So what's going to happen is you're going to see it in that hamburger menu on the right, but you won't actually be able to access it when you're inside the contentlet itself. I have a show in locked, unlocked. I have new, published, and unpublished. And you can change any of these checkboxes to fit your needs. This API connection actually uses the Velocity script actionlet, and we have a lot of different actions in our sub-actions and our workflows. So a few of these, I really urge you to take a look through them. 4i's approval is pretty great because when you create content and you hit publish, if you have this enabled, it'll actually send it to another editor to get approval before it gets published. So it's a great way to make sure that you're not publishing content that you don't want other people to see out there. Our AI different workflows, which I'll go over quite a few of those. We have some adding comments, copying a contentlet. This one's pretty cool because say that you wanted to move content from one site to another. You have a multi-site implementation. One of them has content in a foreign language. You can actually copy the contentlet. You can go down and use our translate content to translate that contentlet into whatever language you want to display it in. You can move it with this workflow action, and then you can actually delete it on the original environment to keep everything clean and separated. And so that's one of the ways that you can chain a lot of these sub-actions in order to accomplish your needs easily, succinctly, and without a lot of trouble. Let's see, send from email, send an email. Those are really great. Like if you were to publish a content, you could have it fire a workflow action that sends an email whenever it gets published so that you know when things are going. I had the idea, the thought possibly of sending my boss an email every single time I generated a new cat fact, but I held off. It was hard. So anyhow, for this specific action to create an API connection, we're going to hit the Velocity script actionlet. I've already added it in, so I'm not going to click it now. But if we go into here, you can see that I'm actually parsing a VTL file. And then if we go to application VTL workflows, API workflow example.vtl, cancel that. Let's go over to our site manager. We can see it in here. You can see that I am sending a JSON fetch out to this website called catfact.ninja, which is a great little website. It's open source. It's free to connect to. You can test your APIs with it, and then it'll come back with a result. After you receive your results, you can content.set property on the variable for that text box with the result that was returned. And what that'll do is it'll insert the information that was gathered from your API directly into your contentlet. One thing I do want to point out, and I learned this the hard way, is that you cannot use the word response as your variable because it is a protected word and your API calls will not work. So avoid using the word response. All right. Let's go back over to our workflow. Once we're back in our workflow, you can see that after this actionlet is called, we're going to lock that content, save it, and then unlock it so that future editors can still have access to it. Save often is the one thing that I tell everyone. And then let's go see it in action. So we're going to go back to our workflow example contentlet. And we are going to come over here to our hamburger menu, and we're just going to hit API connection. Our workflow is executed. And remember, that was empty before. There was no other text boxes that we filled in. We only added a title. So we're going to go in here to dotConnect. And we're going to see that it has added a new cat fact in our text box. Great. We're going to publish that and move on. The next workflow we have is called tags for cats. And so let's go over to our workflows again. You can see our tag for cat step here in our workflow. Again, we have the save content and unlock content after this. It's shown on our listing and our show whens are all checked in. We are going to use the set value subaction. So what this subaction does is it allows you to take a variable that's in your content lit, and it will allow you to assign any sort of information to that. So I have a comment eliminated list of terms that I would like to tag that content lit with. I'm going to hit cancel. We are going to come back over to our workflow examples. We're going to click on the hamburger menu next to this, and then we are going to hit tags for cats. Our workflow has been executed. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click on our dotConnect content lit, and you can see that all of these tags that I had in that comments eliminated list have been inserted into our content lit. Say you have a blog and you have a bunch of tags that you want every single blog tagged with. This would be a great way to accomplish that. Or if you had an activity that you wanted to make sure that every single activity was tagged with the same tags, and you can create as many of these different workflow steps as you wanted. So if you had a workflow where you wanted different tags associated with a blog than you did with an activity, than you did with a product, you can create different workflow steps and have that auto tagging available to all of them. All right. So our next one on the list is AI image creation. This one does take a little bit longer because it reaches out to the AI to create a new image. So let's go over and look at that workflow. And never click on the tab the first time, ever. Let's see. AI image creation. All right. Some of these workflows will only work on the listing. They will not work when editing. And when that happens, editing will be grayed out. So a lot of our AI subactions are only available during the listing step. If you look through your subactions, you'll come down here, you'll find the AI generate image. This does utilize dotAI. So again, you're going to have dotAI enabled in your environment in order to be able to use this. So in this subaction, what you have are a few different fields. This first field is where you can define which binary field you would like your information to be assigned to. Now, like it says here, if you leave this blank, it's going to assign it to the first binary field on your content lit. And as you saw before, I only had one. If you want to overwrite that information, you can leave this as true. But if you don't want to, then you can change it to false. And one of the ways that this is used is if you have an entire list in your search that you click through those checkboxes and then you run AI image generation on it, if you have this set to false, what it's going to do is only generate images on those content lists that are missing images. So if you have it set to true, it'll generate images on all of them and overwrite any images that you already have there. The next box is our prompt. This is what we're going to send to the AI in order to tell it what to create for that image. I've just sent it a general create a cute image of a white cat. But if you wanted to, you could use the dot content map, which will take all of the different fields in your content lit, and it will search through those smartly in order to create an image based off of the content that's already in your field. So if you have a blog about skis and you told it to use the dot content map, what it'll do is it'll scrape the information out of those fields and it'll create an image based on that information, an image of skis or whatever else might be in there. The update content asynchronously after 60 seconds. I set it at 60 seconds. You can set it at 0 to run it right away. I find that a little bit of delay is better. Let's get out of here. Always save. And then we're going to go back to our content and look at our workflow example. All right, so we see our dot content here. We are going to run our AI image creation on this. And like I said, it can take a hot second. So we're going to sit here and I'm probably going to cut out quite a bit of this so that it looks instant to you. This is one way that you can tell that it is finished, is because it will refresh automatically all of your images here on the sidebar that were selected. So this is the only contentlet that we chose to generate an image on. We're just going to come in here and see what we got. Aw, isn't he cute? Look at him. All right, so we're going to leave him there. He looks great. You can publish, you can X out, you can do, any of those workflow steps that you decide. All right, we've already generated a few different things with workflows. We haven't typed anything in yet. The next thing we're going to do is create content. So let's go over to our workflows one more time to look at our AI create content. Again, this one only works in the listing, just like most of our AI sub-actions, and you can choose any of the other show whens that you want. So we're going to come in here to our AI content prompt. This first field lets you decide exactly which fields your AI content will generate information for. If you leave it blank, you can define those in your actual AI prompt like I have, because I'm going to have it generate more than one field. If you want to overwrite the existing content, true or false still is the same as for image generation. I'm going to have it overwrite the existing content because I want it to generate a new title for my contentlet. In my instructions, I have told it to return a JSON object, which right here, in case you're ever wondering, you can just look at the instructions up here and reference those. I'm going to have this return a JSON object that includes the field's title, which is the variable of my title field, and that's going to be a catchy blog title less than 100 characters. Now, if you have lengths assigned to your variables, if you have, a length on your text box or something, you need to make sure that you define it within your AI prompt, because it will error if it tries to generate content that's longer than what is allowed in your text boxes or in your fields. And then I want it to generate a field all about cats, which is our block editor. I want it to give it a description about what cats are, their natural habitats, and general pet ownership information in HTML with proper headings, paragraphs, and bullet points. The reason why I'm specifically telling it that it needs to be in HTML is because if it does not insert into a block editor in HTML, it will not render correctly. So if you're using a block editor, which I highly recommend, it's one of my favorite fields, you'll want to have it in HTML with proper headings, paragraphs, the whole nine. You can decide which model you want to use. We default to GPT-4o because we use OpenAI right now, but we are working on trying to extend what kind of LLMs and models that we accept, and that's really exciting. And then the last field is your AI temperature for the response. You can set the AI temperature for the response between 0.1 and 2.0. 0.1 is going to be a very short, very non-human readable response. You're going to use something like that if you want it to generate, say, tags or one-word responses, because in this context, it would probably just return the word cat, 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 cat over and over again. If you set it all the way to 2.0, you're going to receive something that is very flowery, Shakespearean, verbose. It's probably going to be a lot. So I found that setting your temperature around 1.0 to 1.3, 1.4 tends to generate the best responses. But that's my personal preference. And of course, you can set it to whatever you'd like. So I'm going to cancel out of here. Again, always save. And then we're going to go back over to our contentlet. Let's click on this button over here. AI create content, and we're just going to let it do its thing. Great. You can see that it's finished because it's updated the title just like we asked it to in our prompts. We're going to click on this and see what information it's generated for us. Here's our new title, The Perfect Companion, Embrace the Joys of Cat Ownership. And then it gives us information in our block editor, perfectly formatted for our headings, paragraphs, bullet points, everything that we asked for it to insert in HTML format in our prompts. You can scroll through here. You can see things about the natural habitat, caring for your cat, why cats make great pets, and just more information that the AI decided to generate for you. And you can really do this with any sort of content. It's a really great way to generate content for your patrons that'll meet their needs and expectations without a lot of overhead. And then you can always come in here and edit it later. One of the other things I really love about the block editor are just some of the other features. And I know that we weren't supposed to go over the block editor in this demonstration, but I have to show you this. So in the block editor, you can actually generate even more AI content or AI images. And this is pretty cool because I'm just going to create a quick little image based on the existing content in here because I want to add some images of cats down here into my block editor. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm just going to come down here and hit generate image. So it's generated this really cute image of the life cycle of cats with some little tidbits and cats jumping and all of this great little content. So I'm just going to insert this into our block editor. And you can see here that I can have a few extra tools. I can center it. I can change the margins. I can link it out to other content. If I hit image properties, I can see the URL, title, alt text, all the fun stuff. And so that's really cool about the block editor. I'm just going to publish this and save it. And we basically created an entire contentlet just through workflows. I mean, all we really did in the beginning was give it a title because that was the required field. And then through the workflows, we created the image, we created a cat fact through our external API. We added a bunch of tags to it, and then we gave it all about cats information based on our AI content generation workflow. The only other one that I want to show you real quick is just our auto tagging. I'm not going to go back into it because you can take a look. It does the same thing as the content creation where you want to set a temperature on it, and then it'll generate tags based on that temperature and the content that's already inside of your contentlet. And as you can see here, it actually added a bunch more. It overwrote the ones that I had already added, but you can see that these tags that it added are quite a bit better than the ones that I had just typed in my comment eliminated list. So those are just a few examples of what workflows can do. They're really powerful, and I highly recommend just going into a development or sandbox environment, playing around with workflows and trying to see what you can accomplish with them, especially in tasks that are very repetitive, very redundant, just to make your lives easier and to make it so that you don't have to do as much of the manual work. The workflows can really take care of that for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Please take a look over the documents that I talked about earlier, the Discovering dotAI and implementing the dotAI site search. And if you need any help implementing the things that you've seen here today, we have a fantastic professional services team who would be more than happy to assist you. I hope you enjoyed this little overview of a few of the things that you can accomplish through workflows. I know there's so many more things that I could have gone over, and I hope to have more workflow examples in the future.
Thank you for joining us for dotConnect 2025. We hope you found our sessions interesting, inspiring, and if you are ready to continue the conversation, please post on our community board at community.dotcms.com. You will also receive email communications post-event with helpful links and resources, as well as once the recordings are available online, you will receive an email with the links as well. Thank you.